And to me, these are the times that we should be getting back in. Trump has put America first. They're putting China first. One thing I'm sure of is before he goes to bed every night, he knows where the S&P and the Dow's closed, and he knows where Bitcoin's closed, and he knows where the dollar's closed. Putin has seen what he can get out of war, and he can probably do better out of peace. Are people going to stop flying? Is America going to only order European airplanes? Will Trump allow a company like Boeing to go bust? AI is here to stay, and you need to find a way to monetize yourself in it.
Everything to me screams defensive right now. You're not by nature defensive, are you?
No, I'm South African.
I like it.
So what's happened? Markets are nervous because there's uncertainty. Why is there uncertainty? Tariffs, no tariffs, friendships, no friendships, wars, no wars. When the market doesn't know what's going on, the best thing that people can do is get into cash or low risk trades. And that's what we're seeing. So all the performers, Nvidia, Tesla, Amazon, people are going, we've had a good run, let's get into cash, let's decide what we're going to do, let's reevaluate, and then look to get back in. And to me, these are the times that we should be getting back in.
Could I just take you to task slightly about Trump? You say he's unpredictable. Yeah, he's unpredictable in what lay people like me regard as the geopolitical arena and the rest of it. But people like, he's a deal maker. He's like you. Isn't he?
It's a compliment.
But he's a deal maker. Now, why is that not predictable? Why can't you just remove all the supposed things you're supposed to say as a politician and say, okay, I'm a deal maker, I'm a businessman? You deal with those kind of people every day.
Well, that's why I say, if you think Trump's not going to want American price assets going bust. So whether the S&P, and he's also not going to really want the stock market going down, and he's not going to want interest rates going up, because he's going to want to be the best president ever, and he's going to want to win the Nobel Peace Prize, and he wants to go down in history as the greatest. And that's not going to happen with a market that crashes, and it ain't going to crash on his watch. So,
but you insist to slowly to catch the thing is stick with the A1 names. Yeah. You can't go wrong with them.
No.
Really.
So the names that he wants to succeed will succeed.
That's interesting.
Because he's not going to, one thing I'm sure of is before he goes to bed every night, he knows where the S&P and the Dow's closed, and he knows where Bitcoin's closed, and he knows where the dollar's closed. And those are all items that are important to him. And he's going to make sure by the end of his 4-year tenure, they're a lot higher than where they are when he came in.
You touched earlier on Russia. Just take us through what you are looking for in that particular economy, which David says and you said both in rags.
Do you think it'll ever come back? Is what I think.
Look, I have a lot of money tied up in Russia from the war. My way of trading is when bad news hits, that's when I start buying. So I got my money tied up in like shares like Sberbank, and I can see the P&L. It's enormous, but I can't touch it because it's blocked. So I pray that Russia comes back, and I think the relationship that Russia and America are going to have with Ukraine.
You believe that, do you?
I believe that Trump has a good relationship with Putin, and I think he can make things work. And at the end of the day, Putin has seen what he can get out of war, and he can probably do better out of peace. So, he gets peace, he's going to be able to open up a new market to the Americans. They'll be able to sell their products throughout the world. So Russia has potential once the war ends and the sanctions are lifted.
So you've had a good retail experience as far as China's concerned, but it's still, we've talked about this in the past, it's still opaque, isn't it, as far as wondering what the country itself is doing and what the economy is doing there?
Well, my philosophy is the leaders in that country will do what's best for that country. In fact, every country. So the Chinese leadership need to make sure that their domestic population aren't starving, aren't rioting, and have an ability to grow. They need growth. They're pumping money into the economy. They're funding the banks. They're funding. They had a meeting recently where they called all the leaders of business and said, right, guys, behind closed doors, we need to do what we need to do to get back to being number one or number two. And they're going to do that. So their economy is opaque. Their numbers are debatable, whether you can really rely on their GDP numbers or their PPI numbers. But they need to protect themselves, and they're aware that, Trump has put America first. They're putting China first. So, look at if you just one sector, if you look at the electric cars, you don't see so much in the UK. But if you go to Dubai or South Africa, it's just flooded with Chinese electric cars. Names like Jet Tour, Neo, Build Your Dreams. These are unbelievable cars, unbelievable, that no one's seen or heard of. They look the nuts, if I can use that language. I mean, they're unbelievable. So I think that they're on the growth, and you want to get involved in that economy. And I think there's still a lot of potential there. I love Alibaba. I think that's one of my best valued shares that you could buy at the moment.
One of Europe and the United Kingdom. Is this an area that you don't find particularly fertile in the months to come?
No. I don't. I'm sorry. So I think Europe is going to have to protect itself, and they don't have America as a friend.
Despite all the glorification at the White House yesterday, do you think that's paper thin, do you?
Well, I think the UK are separated the UK from this, because the UK maybe is not Europe. When I travel around Europe, they don't let me in. I'm non-European, so with our UK passport. So the UK is going to be good because I think we can get a deal. Well, Mr. Starmer looks like he's going to be able to pull one off with the help of the King. So we should be in a situation that the UK benefits. And then you need to take advantage of the underperforming shares in the UK. As we were talking about earlier, Aston Martin, I think, is a prime example.
Some of the defence stocks as well, presumably will be interesting.
Yes, especially with the UK increasing the defence budget, I think we need. That's most definitely interesting, I think.
Can we ask you a little bit about what they call the old flight to quality? Any thoughts particularly on gold, oil or the dollar during the course of the next few months?
Gold's slow and steady. I mean, its performance has been pretty good because of the people that are nervous of the markets, and they have been going into it. So I think gold continues to gradually drift up. And I think the dollar, much the same. At the end of the day, Trump wants the dollar to also, he also wants the United States economy to be good. So I think the dollar is a commodity that you could go into and comfortably.
What do you look at in a company before you invest in it?
I think I learned from Warren Buffett. You've got to understand it as best you can. So he bought Coca-Cola, he bought McDonald's because he liked the products. He used the products. He walked into McDonald's, it was busy, he stood in line. He then got himself a hamburger and it was delicious. So he thought, well, this is not going anywhere. I'm going to buy this company and I'm going to hold it because it's here to stay. And he was right. And AI is the same. We all probably by now have it on our phones, on our laptops, or what have you, and you're using it and you're seeing how it can do your job better than you. It can write love letters to your wife better than you can. So it's going to be able to do just about everything. So what we need to do is to find out, we need to do a little bit of research to say, who's behind ChatGPT? What processes do they use? Who services the processes? Who services the people that service the processes, and you need to get involved in that infrastructure.
Picks and shovels.